Well, dashing through the snow might sound fun, but it's important to take precautions, especially when there is ice on the ground. In fact, winter weather kills twice as many people as the summer heat actually does. And today, of course, we are joined by Dr. Rachel Haley, board-certified family medicine physician with Lee Summit Medical Center, HCA Midwest Health. Here with us, Dr. Haley. I think when a lot of us think of that winter weather and the concerns that come along with that when it comes to our health, we're thinking about those respiratory viruses, but that's really not all we need to be thinking about.
You know, it is important to be aware of the increased risk that cold weather brings, like the respiratory viruses and in extreme cold, hypothermia and frostbite. But we also need to be aware of what common accidents can occur, how to avoid them, and stay out of the emergency rooms. Falls are the #1 reasons people go to ERs and urgent cares during these harsh winter months.
And so what about when we have, that layer of snow, but we also get that layer of ice in there?
Oh, I think many people have learned the hard way just how dangerous that can be. And if you have elderly parents or neighbors, we need to remind them how dangerous can be. A slip and a fall can result in strains, sprains, breaks, and even head injuries. And as we get older, our ability to control ourselves on unpredictable surfaces like snow and ice becomes even more limited. And we often can have conditions associated like osteoporosis that make our chances of bone breaking even greater if we fall.
So obviously thinking about that, planning ahead, footwear, a big necessity. When it comes to those conditions out there, what kind of footwear do you recommend?
All right, well, use common sense when putting on your shoes and boots.
No high heels.
No, and if you do like fashionable footwear, like we apparently do, take it with you. I'll put on boots and, or snow boots and wear them to the office and then change when I get there.
I had to do that last week.
Yes, and some other common sense rules for walking in winter weather. #1, put that cell phone down. Pay attention, look for changing surfaces ahead of you. 2, don't walk on grassy slopes. That can be just as slippery as snowy steps.
That's a good one.
Walk slowly. Turn your feet out like a penguin and take short steps. And keep those driveways and sidewalks clear.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And of course, accidents still happen. So if we do take these preventative measures, but we still end up falling and, feeling like we've hurt ourselves, when is it the appropriate time to go see the doctor or go to the ER?
That's a great question. Falls are often brushed off as minor injuries, but if they go untreated, they can result in serious problems. So, it's important to know that if there's a protruding bone or, a head injury, call 911 or get to the emergency room. But most swelling and bruising can be treated with rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Pain can be treated with ibuprofen or Tylenol. But if the pain isn't starting to improve within 24 to 48 hours, you might consider going to see a healthcare provider and seeing if x-rays are indicated.
Yeah, pain definitely not normal, so you don't want to get too used to that. So of course, for more information, you can head on over to hcamidwest.com. There you can also find a doctor as well as the closest ER and urgent care center near you. Dr. Haley, thanks so much for being with us today and for all of that wonderful information.
You're welcome.